Good, go. Okay, what differentiation looks like in my classroom and how I meet the needs of each one of my students. So I embed differentiation in my classroom routine. So every day, every literacy lesson, I start with a whole group read aloud. We're all together, we're all working on the same theme, and this week's theme are seeds. So each day we'll have a different read aloud, and throughout the week I will repeat those books so the kids have multiple experiences with them. We're reading The Tiny Seed by Eric Carle. We're reading From Seed to Plant by Gail Gibbons, The Carrot Seed by Ruth Krauss, and Planting a Rainbow by Louise Earhart, and Monday will be class choice. At the end of my read aloud and discussion, students are dismissed into their heterogeneous groups. That means I group them based on who they work best with, not with their skill level. So they're moving around. I'll have some advanced learners, struggling learners, and average learners all together in a group. This way they can learn best from their peers. They are assigned table jobs. So their group is dismissed to a table. They have one job a day, so that I have four activities set up, and then I also have the teacher table, which I'll describe later. So for some examples of table jobs are typical kindergarten concepts. So this week we're going to be coloring, cutting, and labeling parts of the plant, and that's one table job. And another job we have are beginning, middle, end. So you cut and color and then paste them on so that it makes a bit of a story. First the seed, then the seed, next the seed, and last the seed. So they have to glue them in order. Another table job is to color in and read this book. They'll have to read it to a partner, and that partner will have to sign their name at the end. Or they will have to read with a partner. They can choose that, where the two are reading at the same time, and then they both sign their names. But it does have to be illustrated and colored in. And then I have a writing prompt. This is this week's writing prompt based on The Tiny Seed. And every student, no matter what their ability level, will be doing those activities. When they are finished those activities, if they have time, then they move on to their bucket list, which means they hand in that work into their bucket. So let's pretend this was Ace. And then I can come and I can check that later on. And she pulls out her bucket list, and she checks it out. So it's two-sided, but I fold it for a reason so students can look at one side. As you can see, this is D. D's working on these particular skills. So these words are for him. Is and his are words that he was having a hard time recalling with automaticity. So they are still on this list. This, because it incorporates his sound of the week. He is still, he hasn't mastered the sound. He still reads t. So I don't really want him to move on. I want him to master this, and that. So that's how these words are picked, based on not only the sound of the week, but also other sight words that he still needs practice on. His word of the week is pollen. Students will have different vocabulary so that we can practice learning from each other. And his books of the week are clouds and The Tiny Seed. Now, clouds is in his bucket, and that's going to be a teacher job, like a teacher table that we read together. It's something that we read last week, and I want him to be able to practice it. He should know it pretty well, and when I call him, he can read to me. The Tiny Seed is a book he's going to be seeking out when he's doing his reading bucket. Or I think here it says job, reading job. So when he goes to his sight word job, or his words of the week, as an example, this is what he'll find. There's a bucket in the classroom that he'll walk to, and he'll take this sheet of paper out. I've only made one for the whole class, and even though everybody has different words, he has to color his words green for the directions, and he can choose the challenge to color non-words red or other words yellow, but then he'll have to read them to me later. So for Dean, reading other words might be a challenge, but some of them he knows, so those will be reviewed, and that's good for everybody. And remember, the challenges are not a must. So if I think a student has already is working to in their zone of proximal development, just finishing the directions, I won't push them to do the challenge. But if I think that just finding their words wasn't enough, then I'll keep egging them on. But the students have all week to finish their sight word bucket, their phonics bucket, their reading bucket, their writing bucket, and the teacher job. So before I move on, let me show you what A's list looks like, because this is actually A's bucket. As you can see, she has a different number of the week. She's working on the AR blend, which can be tricky for kids. R, it's hard to hear it. And she's working on words that have that sound in it, as well as sight words. And her vocabulary word of the week is pollination. She's going to be working on the talent show, which is right here. That's her teacher job bucket. And when she is in the book bucket, she'll be finding the carrot seed. In the bucket, there's a listening device with a voice memo, so she can follow along as we read. So 1, 2, 3. As she completes, so she'll circle which day she completed it. So if she finishes the sight word sheet, she'll put it in there. She'll circle the sight word. And when time's up, she'll clip herself back on there. That way I can, during my prep time, I can go see who's on track for finishing. Some kids, not every kid will get to buckets every day because they'll be working so hard on their table job. Like I said, Friday is a catch-up day. Friday is also my assessment day. So on Friday, I set time aside to call students over. A will have to read me her words with automaticity. Probably I'll mix them up with flashcards to make sure they're not memorized in the space. She'll have to read me her teacher job book, which was the talent show, so I can check for fluency, comprehension, and understanding. And we'll pull out something from her bucket and we'll go over something. Now, if she completed something on the Monday and I didn't think it was up to her caliber, I'll put a sticky note on it so she knows to revisit that. And I will either write a note like, you can find a challenge word, or something that says, I challenge you for number 2. Or I'll pull her aside, give her a motivational pep talk, or I see if she had any misunderstandings. So that's how I embed differentiation in my classroom. Thank you.